looking out onto my eyelashes in an agony of delightful anticipation.
Listen to them. The children of the night. What music they make.
From the D&E Studios, welcome to the Dracula Podcast. I am your host, Lawrence Burgess, or LB for short. Thank you to my producer, Adam Stover, Rob and Martha of Southgate Media, and most of all, you for listening. We aim to bring you that thoughtful, stimulating media, reviewing the films, books, music, and plays that make Stoker's creation so beloved, the criticism to inform your purchasing decisions, interesting guests, and the needs of our communities. You can contact us any way you please. You can do so on Facebook at The Dracula Podcast. There you can find the application to play directly into your browser. You can listen to us from anywhere. You can also find us on Facebook.com/Dracula Audio or Dracula Audio No Spaces on Twitter. That's Dracula Audio No Spaces on Facebook and Twitter, or emails at the Dracula inbox at audio.dracula@gmail.com. We'll do our best to respond to queries by direct response or on our show. We're extremely happy once again to bring this podcast to you courtesy of the Foxborough in Charleston, West Virginia. They're the industry leader in scoring, multi-track audio recording, mixing, mastering, production, and graphic design. You can find them on Facebook. For queries, please send correspondence to 1007 Bickley Avenue, Suite 319, Charleston, West Virginia 25302. Once again, that's the Foxborough, 1007 Bickley Avenue, Suite 319, Charleston, West Virginia 25302. And folks, if you do have a production need, contact Greg Hunt and his band of merry men. No one will treat you better. No one has the sense of customer service and personalization of a project like Greg Hunt. Folks, welcome to the Dracula Podcast. I appreciate you for listening and joining in to the sexiest show on the net. If you haven't listened to our previous episodes, no problem. Check out the Southgate Media homepage at southgatemediagroup.com. That's southgatemediagroup.com. We are literally everywhere. Choose your favorite podcasting consuming device, for lack of a better term, and you can listen there. We're also in the second season of Penny Dreadful. The second episode of the second season was entitled Verbis Diablo. It was written by John Logan and directed by James Hawes. One thing I really like about Penny Dreadful, and before we go into casting Dread, I want to make a note of this. One thing I really enjoy about Penny Dreadful is that John Logan himself, the showhelmer, is writing all of these episodes. That shows method, that shows purpose, and there won't be any breaks in quality. I'm not one to watch a lot of TV. Like my listeners, we're busy. We have things to do, so I'm very careful in what I consume during a week. John Logan keeps the quality high. When writers change and you have numerous amounts of writers and writing teams and writing scripts, there's so much that goes into the pre-production process that it's a mess. You have one mind behind it, one vision. It's nothing but a good thing, and we, the consumers, are rewarded for it. All right, and we're spotlighting communications from the Dracula inbox. Dale from Fairfax, Virginia writes, "When is your audio drama complete?" Well, Dale, we're very close, and I know I've been saying this for a while, but we are extremely close. We're going to be announcing an official date within the next month or so, and it's not going to be that far away. Again, my cast was superior. We delved into Stoker's work, and we stayed true to the book. It's not an abridgment. It is Stoker's vision. It is the full experience. It's from start to end. The characters that a lot of you don't know, such as Captain Donaldson, Sister Agatha, Samuel F. Billington, the Three Sisters, An Anguished Mother, the Golden Crone Hotel, all of these elements are in Dracula the audio drama, as well as the locations. We took extreme care to bring Stoker's vision to life. And that's the entire point. That's the point behind this podcast. And that's the point behind Penny Dreadful too. It all mixes together. Why is Penny Dreadful so good? Why is the book so good? Why is Dracula the audio drama going to come out with my absolute complete confidence? Is because we stayed true to that vision. And because we've done so, I can't wait to unleash Ethan Livers, Andrea Parkins, Josh Drew, John Johnson, and the rest on the world. I'm going to let you guys hear a bit of a clip going into the makings of it. It's important that you guys know what a labor it was. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into making this thing. And once it's released, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And I can't wait for you all to consume it, to hear your feedback, and I appreciate each and every one of your responses. Mary in Morgantown, West Virginia writes, "What do you think about the spoofs of the character? I'm not a big fan of spoofs in general when it comes to Dracula, because Dracula is such a complex tale that I don't think it lends itself very much to that. However, folks know Bela Lugosi, and folks know his accent. You've had projects like Dracula Dead and loving it. You've had that abomination in 2004, which was Van Helsing, supposedly by a guy who you'll see once we review it. And just a preview, if you've heard our reviews on Dracula 3D, Dracula the NBC show, you know exactly where we're going to go on Van Helsing. And we're getting into that today as well. But thanks for your emails. We appreciate it. We are where we are because of you. Not by anyone else, but because of you. Because you tune in, because you make us part of your week, because you choose to consume us. That's why we're the best. Not because we say so, but because you say so. And for that, we thank you. I'm honored, and we'll be cracking this as long as we can. All right, folks, here it is. This is our subcast, entitled Casting Dread, the Penny Dreadful Show. As stated before, the second episode of the second season is entitled Verbis Diablo. It was written by John Logan and directed by James Hawes. More than any other episode, it focuses on the range of characters. This episode focuses on friendship and kindness, and then takes a very dark, abrupt turn towards the end. So let's talk about these characters. Victor Frankenstein. He's a lonely human being, and as stated before, it makes some sense that he delves into death. He will lie to keep himself out of loneliness. He renamed Verona Croft Lily, and he wants her to love him. Lily's language comes back rather quickly. Caliban is very pleased. Victor keeps up the charade by calling Caliban John Clare. Victor Frankenstein states that he is Lily's cousin. So, he's woven quite a web. Not only that, he's cut her hair and dyed it blonde. We know what's going on underneath the surface. Victor truly cares for her. Victor perhaps loves her and wants her. So, why is he doing it? Last episode, we talked about Victor Frankenstein and his true success being in death, and it would make sense on many levels that Victor searches for love in death. However, there's something subconscious that I'm thinking about. If Lily chooses Victor Frankenstein and chooses to love him and spurn Caliban, then it's also a bit of a stroke of revenge for the death of Proteus. Another thing I'm curious about is what's going to happen to Victor once Lily is recognized by, say, Ethan Chandler. Victor is going to have to contend with the lies he wove. It's a very strange web he's woven. It's a very human thing to do. Because we know his backstory, we know why Victor is doing it. And I think it's a bit pitiful, but it's also sort of beautiful. Caliban / John Clare finally meets Vanessa. I love the way this episode paints him. He's someone searching for friendship and for meaning. And it also seems like they're setting it up to where if Lily chooses Victor, then Caliban's not going to be alone. Caliban is interacting in the world now. He has a position. The blind girl from last week, she touched his face. He had a full in-depth conversation with someone who is educated in literature. We saw Caliban's views on religion and why he views it. What's great about this show, what makes it stand out, is its kindness and sweetness and its humanity. Friendship, love, these are very important things. So let's talk about Vanessa. She's in trouble. She's shown as a human being who wants to see the good in people. Sir Malcolm goes to take her to help feed the poor, and it makes complete sense. He's a rich man who's lost a lot. He lost his wife, he lost his son, and he lost Mina. He understands the suffering and wants to help people that suffer. He uses his money to help the poor, and he wants to show Vanessa that. A father-daughter exchange. He's making his new relationship count. Vanessa gets quite a bit of fulfillment from it. This is still Vanessa's story, and I appreciate that. I'm glad that its focus is there. We get to touch just a little bit on Ethan Chandler's past, and it's good that we're doing it slowly. There was a moment underneath the archives where we saw a picture of a wolf being a protector, so it shows that Ethan's going to be the person to help protect Vanessa, although there's a bit of a wrench in that. Mr. Lyle is great comic relief. He's a good character. He's got a crush on Ethan Chandler. And it's actually quite brilliant that Evelyn Poole has put him as a mole within Vanessa, Sir Malcolm, and Victor's ranks. It puts him in the show. I think it's important. I think he's funny. I think he's a little tragic. It makes sense that Evelyn's going to blackmail him because of his pornography. It's good. I think it's a very nice touch. Evelyn herself. Ooh. Last episode, we saw that she is quite the antagonist. This episode, she takes that a touch further. She starts her journey by entrancing Sir Malcolm with scent. She's a great shot with a gun. She's powerful. She's cunning. And she sends her daughter Hecate on a train. What happens on that train? Well, Hecate murders 2 parents, steals the baby. The baby is then given to Evelyn Poole, who in a basement carves out the baby's heart and puts it into a doll of Vanessa. And at the end of the episode, Vanessa begins to feel it. Ooh. It's quite creepy, but it's actually been done before. There's actually harm against children that's been done before, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. I'm glad to see that the police have a bigger presence in this. Dacre Stoker, who is a descendant of Bram Stoker. In his novel Dracula the Undead, his character Inspector Codford is given a very interesting story. And it's what happens when all this stuff goes on. What are the police going to say? And I'm glad that the police are still hunting down Ethan. Interesting touch. One of Ethan's victims is still alive from the Mariner's Inn. I don't know how to feel about that because the way it was presented, it's a little bit of a nod to the Phantom of the Opera, a person being scarred underneath. But I'm not sure if a werewolf, a killer like Ethan, who is so lost in his wolf self, would allow someone to live, especially someone who oppressed him. But it ties in well and it keeps the show going and it gives the police a little bit of a lead. There are some problems with this episode. Brona/Lily seems to learn the language too quick. It's explained that because of the experiment's low dose of electricity, she would learn it quicker, but it would have been much more interesting if they would have slowed that down and allowed that relationship to build. There's a love triangle, they're speeding up the process, but it shows it's a little bit different from Caliban, it's a little bit different from Proteus, but then again, at the same time, it would be a lot more interesting to see how they react to someone learning language. Proteus was taken very quickly, and we didn't get to see it fully develop. And perhaps that's Logan's intent. This is what Proteus could have been. This is how Proteus could have learned language, and this is how he could have began his dealings with the world. Sembeni is sort of pushed in the background in this episode, and he becomes a bit lost. Sembeni is actually in the background in this episode, and because there's so many things going on with Vanessa and Evelyn and Ethan, that he's pushed to the background. I'm not sure what's going on there. I think they could have used a little bit more of him. However, there's only an hour to television, so where do you go? But, again, my big problem is with Dorian Gray. What is his function besides being eye candy and a romantic interest? I don't understand it. He's immortal and he's bored and he's gonna do anything to try to feel someone. A transgender prostitute named Angelique finds Dorian and wants to bed him, and Dorian goes and does that, but what's his point? If he's there just to be beautiful and he's there just to sleep with people, then that seems quite a bit of a waste in this show. Vanessa said no to Dorian and it hurt. We get it. But what's the point of it? What's his function? He doesn't seem to have one at all. I don't like it. Dorian Gray could have been cut from this show completely, and it wouldn't have affected it one bit. In fact, it would have improved the storytelling. I don't know when Dorian's going to be given something to do. I don't know what Dorian's point is. He's all by himself, and he's far away from the other characters. Does that mean he's Lucifer? Does that mean that eventually Lucifer's going to choose him as his, as a vessel or some sort? If so, I don't like that. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Is he going to meet Lucifer? Is he going to be Lucifer's vessel, for lack of a better term, like they did in Supernatural? What is his point? I don't see it at all. But the episode itself, it's well edited. They slow down the storytelling and it works extremely well. The episode is thoughtful. The shots are interesting. The focus is on friendship and humanity. The shock factor is high, but it's balanced out by the real beauty of the thing. Okay, as stated before, there are a lot of references in this episode. There's still some debate about Amon-Ra / the devil / Dracula not being the same. Well, guess what? John Logan is dropping breadcrumbs to tell you that Dracula is the devil. We've had references of burned at the stake, witches / Dracula. We've talked about dragons. The taking of a baby is direct from Bram Stoker. It's almost like Logan has a constant whisper of the Count throughout the episode without speaking it aloud, and there have been references to him every single beat of the way. Dracula's going to be a force once he is seen, and I hope they don't pull the card too quick. I'm glad they're slowing this down, but once they pull that card, then it's going to be game on. As I said last week, hopefully they'll end the show there. Verbis Diablo is amazing. The writing is solid. I love James Hawes and what he does with the director's chair. The performances are great. Even Dorian Gray as a character, although I don't see his point, the performance is really good. Wow. Evelyn Poole. It's hard to think that Penny Dreadful could up its game, but in Season 2, so far, they've done so. And there are a lot of stories to pursue. There's Caliban and his understanding of the world. There's Victor Frankenstein with Brona / Lily and Caliban. How's that going to play out? It's not a fake love story. There's Ethan as a protector. There's his past. There's Mr. Lyle. How's he going to handle being a mole when we know that there is some humanity in him? And that honestly he wants to help, but can't. I like what they're doing with Evelyn Poole and her kids. It's a creepy show, but more than that, it's a beautiful show. And it starts with Vanessa. What does she do when she's hurt? How does she function after trauma? Inspired touches make this show as good as it is. And if you haven't watched Penny Dreadful yet, if this spoilerific episode of the Dracula podcast hasn't convinced you to do so, where is your pulse? Please watch Penny Dreadful. I'm not telling you this because I'm a fan or because I desire ratings. I'm telling you this because it's the best way to spend your Sunday evening. Take advantage of this show while it's still there. Such narrative storytelling is rare. There are so many TV shows. There are so many ways to spend your time and money, and this is the best way you can spend your time and money. I don't know why you may not have watched Penny Dreadful, but if you haven't, shame. Go buy the Blu-ray, get caught up, and consume the show. You will not be disappointed. Alright folks, we're back at the Dracula podcast. We hope you enjoyed the subcast Casting Dread, the Penny Dreadful show. And Penny Dreadful is moving forward hard. Please watch the show, it's amazing. Sunday nights, 10 p.m., Showtime, get with it. And now it's time for the media review portion of our show, or as Professor Van Helsing calls it,
the ghastly paraphernalia of our beneficial trade.
So lovely, isn't he? Just amazing. I've had a lot of nightmares about the review that I'm doing this week. And if you've listened to the previous part of this episode, you know where I'm going. The film itself was made in 2004. It was written and directed by Stephen Sommers. It stars Hugh Jackman, Kate Beckinsale, and Richard Roxburgh. It is the abomination known as Van Helsing. And guess what? It's produced by Universal Studios, the one who gave us the garbage of Dracula NBC, and the one who gave us Dracula Untold, which made us all fall asleep. Kate Beckinsale is very sexy. There was a lot of effort made in the costuming. Kate Beckinsale is sexy. The music sometimes sounded like music. And Kate Beckinsale looks good. And that is all the credit I can give it. Not only did Van Helsing take three of the most beloved characters in media, in the Frankenstein's monster, a werewolf, and what's supposed to be Count Dracula, but he threw them together in this some sort of doo-doo sandwich, and we are left with Van Helsing. It is absolute and pure garbage. It is mind-numbingly insulting. It has silly stunts, the special effects look bad, the script is god-awful, and the directing is even worse. Hugh Jackman has had good performances before, and he is reduced to corny one-liners and something that would make Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, and Todd Browning roll over in their graves. I like Richard Roxburgh. I liked him as Sherlock Holmes. He did a decent Sherlock Holmes, although people didn't like him, but this, he is given such garbage to work with. It is awful. If you've listened to his accent, if you've read any part of the script at all, you'll want to hang yourself. You'll want to go screaming into the night and dive out a window. It makes me want to punch someone how bad this movie is. If you don't believe me, I'm about to read some quotes from Van Helsing. It will make you throw up as much as it did me. Quote, "Why does it smell like wet dog in here? Werewolf." End quote. Quote, "Anna, my love, it is your blood that shall keep me beautiful. What do you think of that? I think if you're going to kill somebody, kill them. Don't stand around talking about it." Unquote. This one is from Dracula. Are you ready? He's talking to his hose. It begins, "There, there, my lovelies, do not worry, I shall find another bride." What? Have you no heart? No, I have no heart. I feel no love, nor fear, nor joy, nor sorrow. I am hollow, and I will live forever. Oh, my lord, it's not so bad. And then his mood begins to shift. I'm at war with the world and every living soul in it, but soon the final battle will begin. Dear Lord, there's more. Quote, this one by Dracula. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Van Helsing. Quote, ah, there you are. So did you bring Mr. Hyde back or did you kill him? You killed him, didn't you? That's why they get so annoyed. When they ask you to bring someone back they don't mean as a corpse. Quote, werewolves are such a nuisance during their first full moon. So hard to control. Quote from Dracula to Kate Beckinsale. Don't we make a lovely couple? I'm looking for a new bride, Anna. Someone strong and beautiful. All it takes is one bite from me. You have no heartbeat. Perhaps it just needs to be rekindled. Dear God. From the winking at the camera to this horrible script to perhaps one of the worst directors in the history of time, it is Van Helsing. On IMDb, it's rated 6.0 from 170,000 plus users. I didn't know that 170,000 people worked as crew on Van Helsing, but who knows? I suppose the film was nice in that it gave people work. Universal, what is wrong with you and your best properties? Why can't you get this right? It's like Universal after 1979 with Frank Langella, after they made a really cool film. It's like they stopped caring. It's like they stopped reading altogether. It's as if they said, what's the worst possible script we can get? Oh, okay, we'll use that one. Well, Dracula. We're going to turn him into some sort of silly half Nosferatu, half Keith Richards, and whatever the half else we want to think of. Let's get the cheesiest director we can get, Stephen Sommers. Oh, okay, Van Helsing didn't work, total failure. Let's bring him back on NBC, where Lucy is a hoa, and Renfield is sane, and Van Helsing and Dracula are bros. No, that didn't work. So what we're going to do? We're going to bring him into the movie theaters, and we're going to bore the audience to tears. Dear God, why doesn't it stop? And that's Universal on Dracula. Why can't they get this right? Why can't they get this right? I don't understand. It hurts my brain so much to think about it. And oh dear. Wow. If you haven't guessed by now, this does not get the Dracula podcast seal of approval. Please don't watch this film. If you watch this film, then you have self-esteem issues and you should probably see a psychiatrist. And if you enjoy this film, just leave the country or leave wherever you're from. Go sit by yourself in a desert and put on a muumuu and, I don't know, pick something. Thank you, folks. It was agonizing. It was like Van Helsing is akin to the foulest poo you could ever take. It is effing terrible, and nothing you can do will help you. If you see this on the shelf, run. If you see this in your queue, delete it. If you see one of your friends thinking about watching this film, slap them in the face and abduct them. Take them to therapy. Take them to counseling. Whatever you can do to keep people from watching this film, do it. And here's the worst part. It's 131 minutes, meaning it's 2 hours and 11 minutes of some of the worst god-awful writing you've ever heard. And I can't expound enough on its foulness, stinkiness, and please don't smell that stank. Well, folks, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much to my producer, Adam Stover. Thank you to the Foxborough for bringing this podcast to you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please take my advice and stay away from Van Helsing. Please watch Penny Dreadful. It's amazing. Continue with this podcast. We're the sexiest show on the internet, and it's all because of you. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, to you and yours, have an excellent day.